Oh, Sonia, I was looking at the voodoo lilies yesterday and thinking I should send you a picture of these guys and find out if yours are any bigger. They're just so dinky this year. They did not like the cold and the wet in the springtime, I think, and they have not liked being dry. They're fine. They're not burned. They're not um, dying back or anything. So I don't think they I think they are drought resistant, but they sure didn't grow very much. And I think I told you they didn't come up until July. Silly things. Hey, Chris. Yeah, you've got a place where you could grow that Sanguisorba tenuifolia, Chris. You ought to take it's. And in fact, did I give you one? If I didn't give you one, I meant to give you one, and I will give you one because it has been seeding itself around a bit, which I haven't seen it do before, and I'm surprised that it does in our ditch because I expected our deep 5 foot deep ditch that goes directly out to the lake from, I expected it to collect water, but it would appear that the swales in the neighborhood are not well designed, not well graded, and a lot of people have blocked
They block
their
them that
culverts.
as much as that.
So it
That's a big
doesn't
difference.
stay very moist down there. And I that's where I first saw the plant growing was river level, floods in the spring.
Oh,
And oh,
yeah.
it's spectacular.
Right plant, right place.
Yeah, yeah. Always right plant, right place.
Yeah.
What?
Margie raised a
Yeah.
hand.
So go ahead,
Go
Margie.
ahead.
Hi, this is great.
Daughter's got you connected. That's what our kids are for crying out loud.
Yeah. Well, whatever beauty berry I choose, I'll cut it down in the winter. I mean, in the fall, or wait till the spring. No, I'll do. I'm gonna transfer in the spring. Okay,
Okay.
so
That's
I'll cut it down this fall where they're at now.
no, I'd cut it down in the spring. Woody plants are still photosynthesize. They're still transferring starch from the buds down to the roots a lot longer than we think is where the fall ends,
Yep.
like until the ground freezes. So let them stay up over the winter unless they're in the way, and then cut them down
Yeah.
right before you move them. But you need to look at the one at the library because they become beasts, and that place that you got for them is just barely enough room. It will fill the space where it's all full of black-eyed Susans.
They can grow
Yeah.
like all woody plants.
And they are what
Will
they
the
are.
one, the old one, grow bigger than if I put the new
Yep.
one there?
Yep, yeah, your older one is still not fully grown and it's not sun grown. You're looking for that fountain shape where it goes on all sides, and that'll have
Yeah.
more even the light. When the light is one-sided, we've got a spirea doing that at home. The spirea is just it's over that way, and you can prune it all you want. You can stake it all you want, and it's still going to grow more strongly toward the light. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I
Anyone
think
else?
I'm excited because they're leaving me alone.
Yeah, isn't it nice?
Yeah.
Margie's
Yeah,
homeowners association has been a bear up until now, and now they're letting her do stuff.
good.
Yeah. They're even having a community garden over by the pool.
Yeah, nice. It's
Okay.
Diane.
Okay, thank you.
Diana.
That's Diane Ricks. Yeah. Hi, Diane. Let's see, what did Diane ask about?
Where's my hand?
I think I put your question into the main body, Diane, and I've forgotten what it was that you asked about. I sure hope I did. Because this is the Diane in Waterville. What did Diane ask?
Oh, Diane Ricks is not Waterville.
No, I know, but
Oh.
the picture
Other
that's up right now
oh.
is Diane in Waterville had asked about
Oh,
the big leaf aster. And I can tell her tomorrow because she sent us an email. She said she's coming to the conference. We're speaking at a conference. Well, I'm speaking at a conference. Steve is critiquing me at the conference.
Diane's my non-blooming hydrangea. Diane.
Oh, right. I did put it into the body of it. I think the pictures will make more sense, but I did give a short answer that yes, those darn
We'll get to it then.
blue and pink hydrangeas, they are over the years our number one question.
Oh,
from
it's
Midwestern people, not so much from people in Massachusetts, certainly not from the people in the west part of Oregon, but in the Midwest, they're just not reliably, they're not able to make it through the winter with all the pieces intact that they need to bloom. So we get these nice blue bushes with a few blooms way down low, way down late.
yeah.
The greenery is always very healthy, or usually very healthy. I
And
like growing the one with the variegated leaves because it's like having a big woody hosta out
yeah,
there.
one of the problems with the blue and pink is that in certain areas in our area,
Even
you'll
here,
drive by and you'll see these beautiful stand of them, and everybody thinks they could just pop it into their yard too. But
yeah.
I,
And one of the things about people seeing that, over the years, various plants have featured in this conversation, which I'll tell people it's not going to bloom here. And they'll say, but everybody else has one that blooms. And I go, but that's because when it's bloom time, you drive around noticing the ones that are blooming. You don't drive around noticing all the ones like yours that aren't blooming.
all the ones.
Yeah. But there was one blue hydrangea at a house in Franklin on the Franklin River where I was working, making a garden for them. And along the side of the house, they had 4 or 5 of them all blooming.
Yeah.
I said, well, look, you're in a microclimate, they're blooming. Well, I'm going to move one of these out and use it in the garden because that blue would be great at that time of year. So I dug it up and moved it maybe 30 feet out into the garden where it wouldn't bloom. After 2 years of not blooming, I went, okay, never mind. So I dug it up, moved it back, it started blooming again.
Right plant, right
If
place.
it's protected, they can make it. There's some places in Dearborn that we've seen them growing pretty well, but also some places in Dearborn where they don't grow well.
Yep. Diane is in Waterville,
Okay.
is here.
Hey, Diane. Um, Diane asked about the aster, the big leaf aster that we showed last week. That's this one from last week's Friday Free for All. And she said she's been looking because she'd like to have a plant like that. But the catalogs all show kind of a dirty white blooming color, and obviously this is a violet blue color. Look, I can't. You have to click on the picture somewhere.
Okay.
Ours, however, is not a variety. We can't tell you what variety name it is, but I guess we can give some pieces of it because we brought one piece, one piece
Counter.
that I could dig out with a spoon from near Steve's family's homestead up in the Upper Peninsula in the edge of the woods. And so that was one small piece that I said, well, let's see if it makes it, and it made it, and it is spreading. And it is a great ground cover. It belongs in a place where you don't water like we don't water, and where you need something reliable, and where you want pollinators.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They come to it.
But if you thought, and Diane thought that the purple bush clover that's there behind Teddy the dog, and the big leaf aster would be good companions for a Ito peony, one of the intersectional peonies that's a cross between the woody peonies and the herbaceous
Yeah.
peonies. Those are all really big plants, and if you wonder where you put them, you need at least 4 feet around 4 feet circle
So,
for that Lespedeza for the purple bush clover. What you see there.
and I don't think that's full grown yet.
Well, it can get bigger,
Yeah.
but you need at least 4 feet around for that. You need however much room you want to give the aster before you start digging out pieces around the edge to keep it under control. And for an Ito peony to really look good, it needs a little bit of space on the side so that it can relax outward as it blooms. And I would say that's going to be 3 feet
At
around
least as
anyway.
wide as these two
As
plants.
these lotuses
Yeah.
there, yeah.
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 Diane loves her blue clover bushes as nothing eats them. Eats it.
Blue clover bushes?
It says my bush clover.
Bush clover, bush
Sorry.
clover. Sorry, we're a little far from the screen here, and it's a Lita
What did I
screen.
do?
I don't
I
know.
changed
Yeah,
this.
when you click on it, it changes things.
Ooh, geez.
Okay, we both can't click at the same time.
Just you.
I have a clicker today. Steve has a mouse. This will be a war of the technological
Did it click?
devices.
Oh,
So,
anyway.
all right. So anyway, if there's any questions, we've got 4 minutes, and Steve and I are we're sitting here relaxing.
Yeah.
running this week.
It's
It's
been
just been
a
one
very
race after
busy-
another. All
busy
things
week.
that maybe if we'd sat down for about a week ago and said, what will happen if? We might have
Yeah.
known about this, but we've
Mhm.
never, ever thought about what the stuff that was
In
coming.
the middle of a busy week, and we're here in Cleveland, so that
Yeah,
Jen could give 3 talks tomorrow. Well, the original plan was 2 talks, and they had a speaker cancel.
and asked me if I would add another one. I said, well, sure, I can do that. But
And-
we kind of miscommunicated about what the topic was going to be if we didn't have a topic until late last night.
It's ready to go. It's going to be a great. They're going to be great talks. We're going to blow them
And
away.
that's what my contact at the conference told me. She said, "You'll do great." I said, "I'm making it look too easy then. I don't think people know how much work
How much work goes into each,
these-
even this little,
Yeah.
where this is relatively relaxed for us.
Yes, where we can put things in and say, well, we'll figure it out. We'll tell people
Yeah.
about it as we go along.
But when we're
You'll notice, and I will try not to say anything because Stephen says, don't apologize for stuff, but I wasn't able to go and raid Steve's library for beautiful pictures for the questions field. I had to just kind of do with what I could get. And I feel like, ah, darn, I really love those beautiful pictures. I love even just going through them to pick out what pictures to use.
Diane includes tonight as a talk. Well, it's true. We did work on it to present this. Yes.
Yeah, well, let's see how much time do we put into this one. Aside from doing the things that we're doing here, probably spent 2 hours. It's about 15 minutes per question, unless I'm looking up a lot of stuff. Oh, at Caterpillar, spent some time. So say 3 hours looking things up. Then last night an hour, and this morning 4 hours. It's about another 4 hours figuring out what can go in here.
And
then finding the pictures another hour. So that's 4, 7, 8 hours. And then I've actually been arranging things in the car while Steve drove, which is very interesting because the screen, it's a bright day out there. I said, well, I hope that I know what I'm looking at right here.
Fortunately, the roads were pretty smooth most of the time.
It's 11 hours. It was spread out here and there, and it's fun because I get to sit down and, well, there's kind of a little bit of a competition for who gets to look at the email, say what cool things are in there that we can look up. I mean, that's just fun to do.
We do include it. Do like it.
Yeah.
It's almost
It's our entertainment. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will go forward and say, everybody here is a regular. You know about turning your microphone off and keeping your camera off. And please do raise your hand. It was so nice editing the video from last week, which I only did yesterday. So you didn't
another point of a busy week.
But it was so nice editing the video and hearing so many other voices. Even Steve wasn't there, and yet there were so many other voices. Barb helping with the chat was talking. Margie was talking. Susan, Bernadette. I call her Bernie. Bernadette was one of our volunteers at the zoo.
Yeah.
And I should probably not do that because she writes Bernadette, thus Bernadette it is. So raise your hand, talk. It's fine with us. I will turn it over to Stephen, the master.
Yeah, right. Thanks.
Okay.
Good evening and welcome to Free4All Friday. This is our 55th meeting together, and we're coming to you from gardenatedz.org. All gardeners are welcome.
Yeah, come celebrate growing, cultivate problem solving with us. I'm Janet Makanovich.
I'm Stephen Nicola.
And I love that peacock picture. I shouldn't have kept the same one in there because it's but that's a cool picture.
Yeah.
You know about our website. Tell your friends about our website so that we can get more people to join us and exchange more information. The more people that we get, the more experience gets traded back and forth, the more topics that come up. So gardenatedz.org.
More we learned.
Go there and click on any of the WhatsApps, and you will find the articles that we've been writing over the 30 some years we've been doing it, capsulated, and we capsulate them by season of the year.
Yep.
And we are currently in late summer.
Late summer.
Just ending late summer. And so anything that we've talked about and written about in late summer is cataloged in late summer. So if you wanted to just cruise in and look and see what you're thinking about doing or what you're facing in the garden is something we've faced, go into what's up and scroll way down on the phones. We did change our website to make it friendlier to phones, but we have long menus because there's so much on there, thousands of pages. So you have to scroll way down to the bottom of what's up, and you'll get to the seasons of the year. You'll see them written up.
We also set up our Free for All Friday YouTubes to be see that
Steve did
late,
that. That was a great
late
idea. I
fall,
didn't even
late,
think about how,
you know.
organizing them like that.
So the ones we're putting in right now are still late summer, and you
Yeah.
could just go to the website, go to the Fridays, go to
Yeah.
late summer and see what's in there. And they would have all the ones that have been in that
All 55 of them. So,
eventually. But I mean, in the late summer, there's only
oh,
going to
right.
be
Yeah.
the ones that are in the late summer.
Okay, so the Fridays page has the link. You can tell people just go there, try it out. If they want to get a reminder of the meeting the day before or so, we can email a reminder, but
We
you
send
need to
them
be
out.
on our list to do
Yeah.
that. Okay, so are there questions from those who have just joined us? We kind of started before the official start time and didn't have much to talk about there that was new. But if you've got anything, you might want to throw it in there before we launch ourselves into what we've been doing this week.
Yeah.
No,
Nothing so far.
lots of questions this week.
Yep.
But I'm going to start with what we did that really didn't have to do with the question. I have a big or tall 3-leaf coreopsis. We're talking 5 to 6 feet tall.
Yep.
It has the same, very similar yellow flowers to the other coreopsis you're seeing, but they're up there. And it doesn't bloom until August. Sometimes it's still blooming in September. This year it's not.
No.
It has nice, I first got it because I like the seed heads. They make nice dried flowers, especially if you want to spray them with a little bit of color. But it's not a real common plant. I brought it to our new house to see whether it would like it. I thought that it wouldn't, and it likes it. Now I need to divide it and put it where it belongs. And I offered a piece to Diane to hide a view over the fence that her lilac that she removed would do that. So I was digging divided, and that reminded me as I went to talk about Susan and Jack's redbud about what to do. Now this is a big plant. The base, it's 5 years old on site, and it started with just a little piece, but it is now the crown is as big around as a good sized peony. And what I'm going to do is not move the whole thing all at once. It's dry as dust out there. The other spots that I'm going to move it, divide it up into about 5 pieces and move it out into another place. But those 5 places are not ready. And when it's dry, you want to get a plant moved and watered in well right away.
Yeah.
So I'm digging the piece out that's going to go to Diane. And so I took the whole round crown and cut it down. I cut down where I'm going to be digging. So I've cut the stalks off there.
There's the stalks of the part that she's not digging.
And now I'm cutting out a pie-shaped piece, which means putting a sharp spade in and slicing down through the crown. And that might sound like, oh, you just slice out a piece. It's like slicing out some of the big grasses.
Some crowns could be very almost woody.
So I've got it cut back so that I can put the spade in and then put my both feet on the spade and jump on it to chop down through. And I've done this with a lot of plants that are hard to divide with big grasses. But the hardest one I ever dealt with was an iris, a blue flag iris, out in a different Diane's garden. And I cried. I tried so hard. I finally got a little wedge out of it, and then there was room for me to work. But I was going to give up totally. It was finding the salamander nearby that made the difference. So I've cut on the one side already, up here,
Upside.
and now I'm cutting the other side. Then I push down on the spade handle to pry the whole thing up, and that's going to show me how far out I need to loosen the roots. So I loosen underneath where the roots are coming up there, where Steve's marker is right now. See, the roots are this brown peaty look here. They're coming up. And I end up with a piece that looks like this. These are the roots that went out about 18 inches from the side. You'll see that the soil is a different color around the crown. That's because we've got a lot of peat that's being produced in our garden from all the organic matter we've added to the soil to make it better. Now I'm going to rinse that off because there's no sense moving soil with all the things that might be in it to somebody else's garden.
That's a really good idea to go bare root
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah. So I'm rinsing it off, which helps give it some more water. And while I'm doing that, I want to point out to you that this has not been a great year for it. It's good, and it was 5 feet tall, not 6 feet this year. But the stems from last year, which are the straw-colored ones in the middle, because remember we have a wildlife garden and we don't cut things down until late. So some of the stubs are still there. Those stubs are much bigger in diameter than the ones that are this year. Most of them. There's a couple of the big
This
ones
one
from this year.
maybe, but
But for
not
the most part,
overall.
on average, they were bigger stems last year because this year it got so dry and so hot. Didn't stop this from blooming, didn't stop it from growing, didn't stop the deer from thinking that it was rather flavorful.
Yeah.
But it's not had the best year that it had while it's been here.
They've never munched it all the way down to the ground, obviously,
Yeah.
or anything, but they do taste it.
So you can probably see by the white below the green on the stems that I've washed off an inch and a half of soil from the top as well as from the roots on the bottom. And now you can see how it grows. If you wanted to divide it more, you could. You can also see what it's planning on doing next year. See, the base of each stem has 2 or 3 big buds and littler buds. It has the ability to double in size next year or triple in size. And if anything happens to those first buds, it's got backups, it's got reserves coming up. So
You can see little dinky where they could come from.
yeah.
Yes.
So despite the fact that it didn't have a best year, it's planning on doing something wonderful next year. And if I was a grower, if I was running a nursery and actually making my income off of selling plants, I would be dividing each of these stems. I've got one pulled off to the side there because they're offsets, just like a daisy, except they're woodier than that. And it has its own roots. I actually had to clip a root that went about a foot on one side and about 8 inches on the other side. But you can see the buds ready to go. And that's about the size plant that I started with 5 years ago, just a division from our old one. So once you look and see, you say, well, shoot, I could make 25 out of this if I wanted to.
Real easy.
Really easily.
Wow.
Then after I had rinsed it off, I filled the bottom of a good sized pot with peat, wetted it down, put the plant on top and added some peat and wetted it down again. It's just transportation. It's just packing material. It's not planted because this is meant to go directly to somebody's garden. So that's how I divide big, unwieldy things that I don't want to dig up the whole thing all at once. And so when Jack and Susan said, we have this red bud that volunteered back in the garden and we're thinking we'd really like to move it. Could we move it? Yes, you could. I sent them this picture of a red bud that I dug up to illustrate the root system. And this red bud, it would be that big. You may be able to see that the trunk in the middle that was cut off when somebody decided they didn't want this volunteer growing right there. They cut off the trunk, and so now it's got 4 trunks, but it's basically the same size, and the roots are going to go out as far or farther than the branches go. So look at yours and say, if I go down below the drip line and dig and loosen the soil and find the flare roots, because it'll be the flare roots that are out that far, not all of them. Find the flare roots. I can loosen the soil and peel the flare root up. They're flexible and wrap them around and move it. In fact, we moved 3. Did we move 3 to Joe and Roger's house? We moved 3, 1 that size and 2 a little smaller to our friends Joe and Rogers. And 2 of the 3 made the move, and it was the hottest day. It was the hottest day of the summer in August when we moved them. So and we had a client. Remember when Bob? He's a surgeon. It was one of the people who wouldn't let anything die.
Yes.
And Bob said, well, this tree is too big here by the house. I said, really, just take it out. You don't have a place for it. Well, I can't kill it, he said. I said, well, you're not going to probably be able to get enough root to move it. And as a challenge to the plant, he moved the plant with a trunk as big as Jack and Susan's with about a bushel basket of roots. He just cut everything and moved it. And that plant made it. It lived. Just to defy the prediction, if nothing else. Plants have a will to live all on their own. You have questions about any of that or anything else that's come up from anybody who's in? Put them in chat or raise your hand.
Nothing.
It's
a quiet group tonight.
Yeah. They've been out looking at hummingbirds too. Steve was waiting with the camera by our hummingbird feeder for a hummingbird to come up. And one of the neighbors who walks his dog and and cuts back through our yard to get home. We have one of those silly things where you can't go around the block. You have to go
Yeah.
back and out the same way unless you cut through. He was coming through and he kind of stepped over to talk to Steve for a second. Steve turned away, the neighbor turned away, and the hummingbird came up. It's like, yes, it's just like plants. They do things just, they're watching you.
What they want to do.
No questions, we're going on. Had some follow-up things this week. People had asked questions about things we talked about before. And I thought, well, I probably should go back to that. I haven't shown you the pictures throughout the year, and I'll put them all together in sequence for you at maybe plant of the week. This is Serbian bellflower, Campanula pascherskayana, and it is growing under the overhang on the north side of our house. And remember, we don't water.
Yep.
It bloomed wonderfully and looked good for well over a month. I took pictures of it as it went. And then the flower stalks laid down and it didn't look so good. So I trimmed just this part right here. I trimmed this part. Yep. In order to take off the flower stalks that were beginning to turn brown. And I didn't trim the rest. And here's what the difference is. That's full. Whereas there are some spaces and gaps in here where the stalks were. Whoops.
Oops.
Where the stems were, they're still there. That straw is still there and nothing came up. But it's blooming again a little bit now that it's cooler. There's one here, there's one in another place. So is it worth getting down on your knees and trimming something? Probably not. In this case, you don't have to, but it looked better right away. If you had a party going on that week, maybe you might do something, but otherwise leave Serbian bellflower to go and it just goes.
Yeah.
It does become a rambling big plant. I'm kind of hoping that since it has agreed to live underneath the overhang, that it'll keep going down through my rocks that are holding up the
We like this.
the bank.
There's a violet that's up in there too, but we would prefer this one.
Yeah, Labrador violet is growing in there too. I had to lower the bed where you see the square cement blocks. I had to lower the bed on that side because further down is the window to our bedroom. This is a violet
Just
house.
see the edge of it right there.
And the bed was up above the window sill. Basically, every insect in the bed was just crawling through the window frame, not because they wanted to, but because it was a gap. And I worried about a water buildup, so I lowered it, but I needed then to build a rickrack wall. So there's a wire wall holding
At least
stone
a little wire between these two
in order
stones.
to keep the sidewalk from shifting. And that space, it used to have mulch and a couple of sickly hostas, and it's just silly to try to grow underneath an overhang. But the Serbian bellflower said, I'll grow in this corner, and the violets volunteered, so maybe we can cover the rocks. Not the square rocks, those are all made by friends of ours. They press stones into cement.
Yeah, we want it to grow along this edge, not all the way down in here.
And we doubt that it will grow all the way down.
No, it won't go down in there.
Okay. There was also a question about getting rid of milkweed. And after you dig it out, this is what you're looking for. You need to develop a sixth sense, absolute radar for this sprout coming up.
Yep. And ideally, you get it before this second one.
That's right. You want to let first, when it doesn't have the arms, it just has the sprout coming up. You want to get that out, and you can just pull it. If you just pull them religiously for the year. So I pulled this, and look how far down they went before they broke off, because there's a running root down below. This one didn't broke off.
He'll come up. This one will come up again
sooner.
much quicker than that one.
But you need to develop a look for those, and you need to look under the skirts of plants that are around there. You need to pick up the edge of the geranium
Look for them.
and look for them, because they'll try to come up where they
And
come up.
the more root they establish, the harder, because it's feeding that main running root down there. Harder it is to get rid of them.
You can kind of see that it's turning green even where it's white. As it approaches soil level, it's already photosynthesizing, and you need to starve it out, which means make it waste all that energy that it spent coming up to the surface. And in a year's time, you can get rid of it, but that's the reality of it. Let's see, who asked about the borer? Robin asked about she said we had a big aspen tree die on our property up near Mackinac. And when we were splitting the wood for firewood, we found this borer in it. And AI, so they put the picture of the borer It's a great picture, isn't it? Look at that. Look at
I love that.
how can it chew through wood? Look at those. It's got clippers up front. Um, AI identified that picture as an emerald ash borer. And last week I said it really can't be an emerald ash
No.
borer. And if it is, it's an odd thing that's not going to develop because emerald ash borer eats plants in the olive family, ash, lilac, Chionanthus. There are a couple others, but and
Yeah.
aspen is in the willow family. So why? Yeah,
Yeah.
we're in a whole different family. That's like talking about rose chafer eating grass. It doesn't work that way. So I said, well, we can't trust AI. I've seen AI be wrong at least. Let me see what there was the episode
Frequently.
there was the episode with the elephant animal. There was the episode with the oil on the water.
Hmm.
There was recently the episode with calling a weed. It had two weeds totally interchanged. So you got to watch that AI. Check the references that are below
Just like
that
everything
artificial intelligence answer because they're not so great. It is, however, a flat-headed borer. See why they call it flat-headed? Is that flathead? When it bores out in the spring, when it's done developing and it bores out to become a winged creature in the beetle family, it will make a D-shaped hole because it's got a flat head. It's how we identified emerald ash
Yeah.
borer as something weird. We were climbing the ash tree, looking to see what could be the problem. Christine from the extension and myself were climbing the ash tree, and we find D-shaped holes. And we look, there are no flat-headed borers that we can find in North America that get into ash trees.
Yep.
So we sent that to the entomology lab to figure it out, and they identified and named emerald ash borer. So it is a flat-headed borer, but there are like 300 kinds of flat-headed borers and they're all pretty much linked to the species. So how you tell them apart when they are not adults. When they're adults, they look different. The emerald ash borer is green. This one is brown and kind of longer in body than the emerald ash borer. The way you identify them is by what they're eating. And what eats aspen is the bronze poplar borer. Aspen is in the same genus as poplar. Poplar is a populus. Aspen is Populus tremulus. I love it. I could be an aspen. I could be an aspen.
Very easy.
Yeah. Okay, so why is there the borer in there? Did the borer kill the tree? So you start tracking from there on. It's an Agrillus lyricus. Emerald ash borer is Agrillus something else. It's named. And so I looked at where does the aspen grow? Because where the aspen grows, and there's a map up there on the top left that you can look at, it grows through Michigan down to the south edge of Michigan. However, when you read things like the extension bulletins from Montana, you find that they are having problems with their aspens as the climate changes and it gets warmer. And the aspens don't thrive unless your mean temperature in the summertime is below 75 degrees. And when you think about our mean temperature in the summertime, it's higher than 75 degrees, even up near Mackinac now. So probably the tree was getting weaker because the temperature is not right for it anymore. And that makes most woody plants get into borer trouble when they are stressed by something else.
Yeah.
There you go. And that was fun to do. Maybe it's not fun for other people, but it's fun.
Suzanne says every redbud sapling that she's tried to move had incredibly long taproot, center root, and never had success.
When we've moved them before and had success, we followed the root out to as far as we thought we could clear it, and then cut it clean, and then moved it and watered them well. And
Yep.
ask next time we hear for webinars, Suzanne, you can ask Sonia about the redbud that I dug up for her and packed into a tube and called it a poster and sent it to where I wasn't supposed to send it. So it made it through the mail with the roots like that. So try it again. You need to go to the bottom of the plant, rake out and move out as much soil as you can away from the base. Find those flare roots, follow them out a ways, clip them clean with a saw or loppers, and get it moved pretty quickly with the roots stretched out again. You might have to stake it up if it's a big enough tree, but
A clean cut is probably even more important than a clean on a root than on a
Oh,
on
yeah.
a twig.
Yeah, there's no
Make the clumps clean.
barrier to rot on a root.
Yeah.
If it gets in, it gets in and continues up into the trunk.
Margie says she has clustered bellflower that I think is beautiful when it's blooming. However, it's
Oh,
spreading like crazy.
some of the bellflowers are real weeds,
Yeah,
and clustered bellflower
it's different than, oops.
and what's punctata called? Canterbury bells, and what's the one that's called rapunculoides? Bell towers. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, you get them in, you're never getting them out.
Yeah.
All the little tiny bits of root grow. But they are very pretty. I like the lower bellflowers better because I don't have to worry about after they bloom having this the stem sticking up. But if you have deer, don't worry about it because they'll come and eat it
Oh,
before
yeah.
they
Yeah.
like bellflowers a lot.
They haven't come up all the way up to our front door to eat ours.
No, that's a kind of a bad place for them. I do also have some, if somebody's interested in these, we can work out arrangement. That's Burning Hearts Heliopsis or false sunflower. That is a spectacular plant, dark leaves and orange and yellow flowers on it. Blooms for the longest time in the summer. It has seeded itself, and I've been selecting for the seedlings that also have dark leaves and bicolor flowers. And I have to do something with them. Where I dug a couple out to move to the Waterford Library last week. Every day, you notice they're still digging there. Every day, a squirrel comes by and digs there to see
It's the same spot.
Ooh, what's going on here?
What did she do here?
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, Marvin's probably not here, and I think it was Marvin who asked about what do you do to protect my new trees from deer bucks rubbing their antlers on it.
It's starting now.
And someone else, it might have been Bernadette, asked about groundhogs. I mean, how are you going to scare away a groundhog who comes up to your sliding door and looks in at your dog? I mean, how are you going to do that? Maybe it's a young one and he was just stupid, but when they're living under things, so underneath Jack's patio, why did that stone shift and fall? Because there's no soil under there anymore. And the only thing we found to do with groundhogs is to trap them. Trap them and move them out, or trap them and give them to somebody who can humanely kill them. But when they multiply, and like Bernadette said, the coyotes do a good job on them, but not much else. But groundhogs are tough characters.
They'll take on a coyote.
They'll take on me. I've tried to chase one out of the vegetable garden way back when, and it turned and whistled, did something that made me
They
say,
almost
whoa.
whistle like the PQs.
Yeah, so now when the dogs like take off toward a groundhog, I go, no, don't mess with a groundhog.
Is that also flower native, by the way?
Which flower?
The one we talked about, the one in our yard that you offer pieces
The
of.
Heliopsis?
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
the
native?
Heliopsis is native on the
Okay.
prairie. It's not native in our part of Michigan. It's kind of like purple coneflower. They sell it as a native, but you're they'd be few and far between here. Maybe some in Ontario because there's old prairie in Ontario, but this part of Michigan where we are used to be woods and swamp, and there was no Heliopsis in the woods and swamp.
While we're still there, Diane says in Waterville says her fall sunflower burn up this year with no water. Is yours in full sun?
It was pretty burnt up and looking bad until I started watering it because I was going to dig up those little guys. So I was watering them to get them. So it's quite drought tolerant, but this year was over the top. And is it in full sun? No.
No.
The serviceberry shades it in the morning.
In the house later.
Yeah, so it's probably getting half sun where it is, where it's in the full sun out.
The
on
one
the other side of
farther
the
out is
crabapple. And
is
actually
smaller and
actually it's doing better.
is it?
It's not as
It
dried
stands
out.
upright.
Yeah, well, they both stand up.
Well,
They didn't
they're
fall
both
down.
doing good,
Yeah,
I think.
but definitely they had problems, and yet if I look at the base of the stems of the ones I dug up, they're planning for next year, coming back strong.
Yep. Okay.
For deer, now this is at Longwood Gardens, one of the premier gardens in the world. Really, Longwood Gardens is in Kennett Square, Pennsylvania. Beautiful garden. All of their new trees have the trunks protected with the gridded plastic. I I don't like those. I just don't like the looks of them, and I don't like putting them on. They're a pain in the butt.
Or taking them off, or
Um,
if you forget them.
This is still Longwood, and it would appear that they only protect them up to a certain diameter trunk. Because at a certain point, if the trunk doesn't give, a deer is less likely, not, well, not
Won't
not
necessarily not do it,
necessarily
but
gonna be, because I've seen deer buck damage on trunks, what is that, 8 inches across?
mm,
But at a certain point, when the trunk doesn't whip, doesn't give any spring back, it's not as much fun. It doesn't feel as good on the antlers or whatever.
it's not pretending to fight.
Yeah, so we decided we're going to protect them until they get just big enough. This is at a client's house, and these are new. They're going to weather to gray. I couldn't find any pictures of them weathered to gray that weren't
Oh.
hidden by something else. But what I do is I put 8 stakes, or tall stakes. They're 8-foot pieces of lath. Is that what they call it? No.
Yeah.
Or trim, something.
1x2s.
They're one by twos.
One by two.
1x2s, and they're 8 feet long. I make a hole for them with a piece of iron pipe so that I can set them 2 feet in the ground. So they're 6 feet tall. And then I use rope, sisal rope, so rope that will degrade. And I make a barrier at buck head height. What I want is something that will tangle antlers rather than, it's not going to stop the deer from reaching in and chewing on that plant, but I try to plant things that they don't like to eat. And yet the things they don't like to eat, they'll still rub their antlers on.
Yeah.
So I don't care about the ground level, and that's good because I need to get into weed and stuff at ground level anyway. I started out, when I first started doing it, I did it with wattle. I would just take twigs and weave them in and out. But it's not always easy to find the right twigs to do this with, whereas I can find the rope pretty easily. And I either crisscross the rope so there's my crisscross kind of wattle looking rope going around. And that's a tree that got smashed by, after we put it in, a big, huge silver maple about 45 feet away from it, dropped a big branch right on top of the service berry and on top of the stakes. So my client redid the rope and stuff. The tree stood back up again. It said, I'm just a little tree and I have enough.
I could thrive.
I have enough spring to come back. So that's what I do with to protect them from the buck rubs. To protect them from browse, we try to grow what they don't like to eat. Or if
That's no
if
guarantee.
we have to have something planted that they like to eat, we're going to use a repellent on it until it gets big enough to fend for itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of our sunflowers that you can see all the leaves are gone. The deer come by and eat the leaves.
Yeah, that wasn't caterpillars, that was deer.
Yeah.
Suzanne just found a new groundhog hole. How about mothballs?
I've read some people do that and say it makes a difference, but the warrens are very large, so you might make a portion of their area distasteful to them, but they've got at least one other entrance as a rule, and they have several rooms down there, so they have other places that they can go. So you might try it and see what happens, but because I've heard people talk about putting used kitty litter down the holes. Putting gas canisters down the holes, putting mothballs down the holes, but the only thing that I found reliable is to actually trap them. They come out in the daytime, so you put your trap out in the morning and set it. We found that they come to apples and cantaloupe pretty well, although one of them had obviously been trapped before. He didn't come until I put a mint in the
Something
trap.
different.
Yeah. But you put your trap out in the morning and set it so that your hatch is open and ready, and then close it at night, or you're going to catch a skunk or a raccoon, and you don't want to catch a skunk or raccoon. You want the groundhog.
They're not.
He ate the leaves of the carrots. At least he didn't dig the carrots up. I have seen them pulling things up out of the ground. I watched one groundhog eat an entire rose bush, and it was an old rose bush, one of the ones with the big heavy thorns on it. I watched him eat it. I said, obviously he's going to do it. If I scare him away, he's just going to come back. And then I went to look. I thought, did he spit out the thorns? Nope, he ate everything.
Chewed right through
The
them.
branches and everything. Plant of the week. Steve is still lobbying for the big leaf aster.
I love that plant.
I think
It's one of my favorites now.
But it's doing a couple of things. And now it's at the end of its bloom, and it's been blooming since June, about the third week of June. So June, July, August, part of September. You can't beat that. But it started as one dig it up with a spoon piece from Steve's family
Might have
homestead
been
up
about
north.
as big as that piece
Yeah,
right there.
exactly. And this that you see blooming is what grew from there. Now, the little piece that Steve showed you, it's spreading, so it's going at least 2.5, 3 feet in all directions. It's a good ground cover, but it's probably not an ideal plant for most people's garden. It's great for the shade,
Probably not.
great for the dry shade, but you got to give it room, or you're always going to be taking pieces out. See those spreading there. I tried to talk him into the golden marguerite that seeds
Well,
itself.
I do like them.
Yeah, because this seeded itself. So this is a seedling coming up and it's blooming now, despite the fact that it's been hot and dry. And we don't water, certainly don't water on the patio. There it is looking cheerful, but it's not really reliable. They are very short-lived perennials.
The first plant was big leaf aster.
Yes, and I'm sorry I
That's
didn't have
what
time to put the names.
Ruth asked.
Yeah, aster macrophylla, which means macro large, phylla means leaf, big leaf aster.
We have rabbits. Suzanne's asking the rabbits eat it. We've had rabbits around and it hasn't been eaten yet.
We don't have that many
But
rabbits,
we
though.
might
The
only have,
coyotes
well,
do.
we had them when we first started. I think, yeah, I'm probably wrong there.
Yeah, not when I put them out there.
Yeah.
Rabbits do like asters, but whether they'd like this aster or not, I'm not sure because the leaves are very fuzzy, and rabbits tend to like the smoother leaves, asters.
We didn't know they bloomed all summer either, Ruth. She says, I thought so, but didn't know they bloomed all summer.
I brought it home as a fall bloomer because that's where I see it bloom in the woods
Yep.
is in August and September. I never knew it was going to start blooming in June. Maybe it's not going to next year. We'll see what
It might be
happens.
totally different next year. That's what's
We'll
cool
see.
about plants.
I'm gonna move pieces of it back
Yep,
to the
sorry.
back area. Margie sent us turtlehead, and I a couple weeks ago was all in for turtlehead because it starts blooming in July. It keeps going till frost. It's a cheerful plant, but
Hummingbirds and bees come to it,
bumblebees are about the only bees strong enough to push their way into
Yeah.
the little turtle's head.
unless they're little guys.
But we ruled it out earlier in the year because it's got to have water, and this year it's sad looking in
Dry.
most places. Sad, sad, sad.
Ours is,
It's half the height that it should be, and it's hanging.
flowers are
leaves.
smaller.
Now, beautyberry, it says Calicarpa. It's probably the hybrid called amethyst. Is great this time of year. The flowers, which are blooming at the tips of the stem, looking kind
Way
of
down
whitish green,
here. Yeah.
as they ripen, are turning into purple berries. And in a little bit, because Margie said, "Won't I get more berries?" Yes, you will. At about the time that the leaves turn yellow in the fall, is when the berries are full all the way along the branch, up almost to the tip. So you will get more berries, but she wants to move it because it's not got the vase shape that she wants. And I call it a fountain shape, where it goes evenly in all directions. It has that
Yeah.
splayed branch.
Imagine every branch like this one.
It'll do that if it's got light on from all directions. This one is one-sided light. It's near a building. And when you do that to a plant like this, it's going to grow one-sided and it looks lopsided to you. So she said, "Can I move it out here?" Yes, if you take out that black-eyed Susan, that's about enough room for it. Because it's a big plant when
It
it gets
will grow.
going. Take a look at ours at the Waterford Township Library. It's let's see, it's probably a good 6 to 7 feet across diameter circle. And it's glorious, but that's grown from being cut all the way down to the ground every spring. So we decided it's too big for most people's gardens, even the little ones. This is a seedling, and yes, they do seed around. This is a seedling that Marjorie thought maybe I'll move that one. That'll certainly be easier to move, but it'll get just as big. I decided, and I did this without you, Stephen, but I'm picking the kids up for school. I said, people probably don't even know about snowberry. This is pink snowberry, Symphoricarpus, and it's probably Chenaultii. It's a hybrid between our native white snowberry and a pink Eurasian one. But it takes me right back to my childhood. We had this in our yard. We had the white version, and I would strip the leaves up the stem and end up with a little bouquet of little white berries in the middle of the leaves. I felt like I was a little bridesmaid carrying this around. They're very nice, and this is the time of year that they look the best. It does get bigger than what you just saw. It gets to be about, I would say, close to 5 feet
I was
tall.
going to say 5.
Yeah, close to 5 feet tall and a little wider than that. But so this is snowberry, symphoricarpus, like symphony, symph, Oricarpos.
And there's liable to be some other hybrids now of this.
Yeah, because it's becoming popular to grow things that the growers can call native. I'm sorry, it's a hybrid. Anybody
Yeah.
who's planted that native sweet shrub has found out that at 18 feet tall, it is
It's
not our
not
6 foot
no,
native.
it's not our normal one.
Yeah,
With those massive flowers
and this one will
comparatively to-
sucker over time and get wider, not like come up 3 feet away like the aster is doing, but it will get wider. I need to click on the picture. There we go. And I had to add this because, oh dear, Mary Ellen said, she said, I grow something new every year for variety. And this year I grew quinoa. And she's harvesting
I was
quinoa.
wondering what grain that was.
Isn't that cool?
At first, I thought it was ragweed because I was taking pictures of that the
Yeah.
last time, and it's kind of a little
Yeah.
similar. And I was like, "What?"
Yeah. I'm reminded of Kathy Hodges when she was growing wheat. She said, I'm growing my own wheat. Well, once she harvested the wheat, she then had to buy a mill just for the wheat and special stuff, but she grew enough wheat to grow about 2 loaves of bread. And it's fun to do to find out
Yep.
how much work somebody's going through to make this. So thank you, Mary Ellen.
Imagine having to do it without our equipment
Oh man, doing it well. She did have to do most things
No, I
by
meant-
hand. Yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we invite anybody, if you've got something that you really like or you're celebrating, those are as much fun
Yeah.
they're as much fun as problems for us to look into and to share with other people.
Probably more fun because people like fun things more than problems, even though we hear more about problems.
Uh-huh. Oh, Ruth says she's at the Environmental Interpretive Center. They had the migrating hummingbirds came to the white turtlehead. Now the white turtlehead is nationally, federally endangered.
Yeah.
So congratulations for
We-
growing some.
we-
It's not
we-
hard to grow, but it's not easily found.
We've seen a couple of them along the up in Alger County along some of the rivers when we were looking at waterfalls.
Yep. And Mickey found some in Highland State
That's
Pontiac
right.
State
Pontiac State. Yep.
Recreation Area. So it's around, but it's not much.
Sure is a pretty plant too.
Yeah. I found this growing at Dave and Tina's. I don't think I have a close up of it. This plant hanging over
This one.
Yep. That's beggar's ticks. That's our native beggar's ticks with the yellow daisy flowers on it
Oh
earlier in
yeah,
the
now
year.
I see them up at the top.
Tina, when I told Tina what it was, she said, well, how'd that get in there? I said, how natives get around. I said, probably the birds brought it
Birds.
to you.
You're feeding birds.
But I had read that beggar's tick could be 5 feet tall.
That's a big.
That's a big plant. I'm now seeing what beggar's ticks
It
could
could
do.
be 6 feet.
I think I might grow some beggar's ticks and have it do that. They call it beggar's ticks because the seed, which is not ripe yet, or I'll show it to you a little bit later. The seed looks a little bit like the mouth of that flat-headed borer that we showed before. It's
Yes.
got 2 prongs on it that help it stick, and it's got a flat beetle-shaped. So
Yeah.
it looks like a tick, supposedly.
We don't see very many birds on that plant, though.
No. Sometimes you'll stick your arm in something when it's ripe, and you come out, and there's a bunch of little things sticking out from your shirt, but they
That's
come
it.
off very easily. And this question comes up a lot, and it came up this week. But I've never
Idea
shown
between-
pictures, I've just explained it, and I threw the blue hydrangeas in because it's another one of the very often asked questions.
Yeah.
So people will ask, is it okay that the ivy is growing up my tree? Yes and no. This is an English ivy growing up this maple, big maple. And it's not hurting the trunk. It's using the trunk for support. And yeah, there's some weight involved, but it's not hurting the trunk. It's not sinking its claws into it or sucking anything out of it. But it is covering it very well. And if it covers between the trunks, see up higher, it's gone up above the Y. If that bridges the gap between those 2 trunks or between the trunk and the big branches up there, it creates a sail, English ivy. It's there even in the wintertime.
Yep.
And that puts a lot of pressure that the
Man.
tree didn't grow with, pushing on the tree. So it's okay as long as it doesn't bridge the gaps.
It's not just a sail. Imagine an ice storm.
Yeah. Usually it doesn't do that in Michigan, but the climate is changing.
Yeah.
Usually it isn't able to survive so far up. But this one is surviving well. Like many of the vines, like climbing hydrangea and wisteria, it has to have a certain uh, inertia behind it. It has to be big enough to become mature and bloom. And this one is blooming. And when they bloom, then the leaf, now this is what you're used to looking at for ivy. That's the juvenile leaf on a branch that's not going to bloom, not old enough, mature enough to bloom. That's a mature ivy leaf.
A little bigger, heart-shaped.
So I tell people if it's going up your tree and you see it maturing, that means it's going up as far as it can go and starting to lay out horizontally. And maybe you don't want to do it because when they lay out horizontally, that's when it can reach across the gap.
It can go across branches and everything.
And I'll tell you, it's hard to take it off.
Very hard.
You can cut
You might
everything.
hurt the bark worse taking it off.
Yeah, I had to have a tree company take off the upper parts at Cape Cod where they were beginning to really bridge the trees gap, open spots. I was able to cut and saw it. Some of the trunks coming up were as big around as my wrist at the bottom and keep it down at the bottom, but I had them take it off the top. And some of the pads at the top were stuck too hard and they were afraid they'd pull the bark off. The next spring, so we did that in July or August. The next spring, those pads, no roots, just up in the top, just living off of the humidity from being near the ocean, were sprouting green everywhere.
And then it wouldn't take long for it to go.
Yeah. And then, so Diane asked about blue hydrangeas, and these are blue hydrangeas in Cape Cod. I often tell people, and I'm half joking, if they don't bloom for you, dig them up and send them to a friend in Cape Cod because you can grow them in drugstore parking lots.
Yeah.
Where nobody does anything to them and they look like this blooming. But for us, they don't do that. This one is in White Lake near us. And you're looking at, I thought I had two pictures.
You did.
There it is. So there's one on either side of that grass. Neither of them with any blooms. I think there's one bloom way low down on the bottom of the other. But the one on the right is showing you what happens. The branches that were there last year got killed back, maybe all the way to the ground. But all they had to do to not bloom was get the tips killed. So we're looking at three here where the one on the right, on the left, where I split it open, you can see it's green inside. It has a chance to grow. And it has to, that tip, at the tip of the branch, is the only part of the hydrangea cane that's old enough in the spring to continue growing and bloom. The tip in the middle, which I've split open, you can see that it's rotted on the inside. Something dried it out or damaged it. Wind can do it. Cold temperatures can do it. Salt spray can do it. And if that tip is dead, none of the side tips all the way down are old enough to bloom. So you just get leaves. The last one, somebody cut it or a deer chewed it off and it's gone.
It's gone. Yep.
So unless you can get the plant to make it through the winter with the tips alive, which usually in Michigan takes burying it in leaves all the way over the top. And even then, it might leaf out in the spring, the tip is alive.
And get a frost.
And get a late frost that kills it. So you'll get, when people say, but mine blooms, it's got 5 blooms on it. Those came from some branches that were way down at the bottom that grew late in the year and were protected enough near the ground that they kept a few tips on them. But
And 5 blooms on a shrub that should get 20 to 30.
Right, and you get all the green stuff on top and the blooms way down below. So thank you. That's in what's coming up 86. Complete shrub pruning instructions for how to prune so that doesn't happen. And what's coming up 200 has these pictures that I just showed you. Questions about that? I hope not, actually.
What do you think about just cutting down my hydrangea down by 2/3? Diane,
If you cut it down by 2/3 now, what grows back now between now and fall is not going to be old enough to bloom starting next spring. If you want to cut it down to keep it smaller so that you can control it a little bit, do that right after it blooms so that it's got most of July, all of August and September and part of October to grow. And then you can do it. But yeah, otherwise you're kind of stuck. You can also do the Minnesota tip method, which is to dig around one side of the plant and tip it over, roots up in the air, and then you can bury it. You put soil on top of it.
she just said not blooming, but I'm not sure. getting bad.
Oh yeah, if you don't want it, if you don't care if it blooms, then sure, you
Yeah.
can do any cutting you want to do.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. If it's not blooming, cut it however you want. Enjoy the foliage is all.
Does have nice foliage.
Yeah, they do. Okay, some problems that people wrote about. Boxwood came up, something munching the roses, leaf color, and chrysalis and aphids. And boxwood, no, it's not the moth this time. Phew. We've talked about boxwood tree moth every week for weeks at a time here.
Oops, sorry.
But this is not boxwood tree moth, what you're looking at here, where the middle part of the leaf has died out.
Here.
And you can see on the bottom the damage. That's boxwood leaf miner. It's a insect that laid its eggs in July on the leaf, and well, actually, it makes a hole in the leaf and lays the egg inside the leaf. And then the insect larva mines, eats inside the two sides of the leaf. And if they eat enough of it, the plant gives up the leaf. It says, okay, I'm here, I'm going to die. These are in the leaf eating. Greg, if you take that leaf off the plant that's got the discoloration or the holes, scars on it, take that leaf and split it in half, just peel it into two halves. You'll find little orange wiggly larvae living in there. They're going to emerge, chew their way out of the leaf next spring and drop into the ground. And in June, maybe late May, they're going to hatch out as little gnats, and they're going to lay eggs on the plant and start the whole cycle over again. The only time that this insect is out in the open where you can do something about it is when the adults are flying.
Mhm.
So you wait until you see them, and it literally looks like a little cloud of gnats. You shake the shrub and go, what's in there? You can kill the adults, and that way you have fewer of this going on. You can also kill the larvae if you prune off all of the bad parts now or real early spring. You've got some damage too from boxwood psyllid and what's the name of the other one? They've been scraping the leaf on the underside, but that's probably minor, and you can take care of them by just rinsing off the plant oil. You can also use a systemic insecticide early in the year so that the plant loads itself up with
Poison.
with poison, basically. And when the larvae start eating, they are killed. But that's going to make all parts of the plant toxic, and I'm not sure that you want to do that. Plus, it's extra work to do. You can kill these boxwood leaf miners they're gnats. Almost anything that you spray in the area, from insecticidal soap to dish soap and water with a little bit of oil in it, I use Murphy's oil soap, is going to kill them. And there are a number of insecticides, including flea and tick spray, that you can use to kill them. And it's very obvious that it's working because you spray it at them. You can just put a piece of paper on the ground and watch them fall to the ground and gasp and die.
Clunk.
Yeah, right. I showed some pictures ages ago now. It feels like it must have been 4 or 5 years ago, where I was watching where the minor adults were out. The little bitty gnats were out flying, and I saw lines of ants going back and forth to the bottom of the shrub. And I went, what's going on with the ants? And then I realized the ants were taking the larvae and carrying them off to eat them. I thought, well, I'll take that as a biocontrol.
Yep.
I can't move.
Oh,
Okay, Ruth wants to know what caterpillar this is that eats her rose. I said, oh, shoot, I've seen that caterpillar before. We need to pay attention to the pattern of the stripes, the color of the head, the size, and what it's eating. And there are actually a lot of caterpillars, most of the moths, that eat the rose family. They'll eat fruit trees like peach, plum, apple, pear, and they'll also eat rose bushes because they're in the same family. I have not yet tracked it down. You click me ahead. But the book to use, and it's a great book, is Caterpillars of Eastern North America. It's about 450 pages, all color pictures. You have to know a little bit about, you can look in the index and look up rose, and you'll find references on about 25 pages, more than 25 pages.
for rose.
Where you're going to look and see what might host on rose. And I've been working my way through those, and of course, getting interested in each one as I read about it. But this is probably a moth, probably one of the brown moths, and generally not a huge problem, but it can be. You can get locally large infestations. Early fall color we've heard about. Yes, plants are drying out, so you're seeing kind of washed out
Oh,
early color.
the drive here, I was commenting how it looks like all the leaves they're just crinkling up.
Drying and
They're
falling off.
dry color, not fall color. There's a few
If you're worried about
but
that, take a look at the branches that are becoming bare and see whether they set buds for next year.
and if the buds are still moist.
Yeah, and break one open.
See, that one's beautiful, but it's
That-
also
the whole-
very early for
if-
sugar.
It's early, but if the whole tree turns, it's probably okay. Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's when part of the tree turns, like one main branch turns ahead of the rest. So that's typical of burning bush and typical of most plants. The leaves most exposed to the sun fall first. And then that exposes the next group to the sun and the cold and they fall afterwards. If your burning bush doesn't turn color, it may not be exposed enough. People, a lot of them grow them next to the house and covered with an eave of the overhanging eaves. And it just doesn't get enough sun and they don't get enough change in temperature to get the cue. They just wait until late in the fall and drop them along. I showed you this hibiscus last week and you can see some branches are turning, especially those on the south side, because our rain garden is not getting water anymore because some contractors who know nothing but are professionals relayed the pipe that goes to our rain garden and they didn't lay it.
They laid it level.
They laid it uphill to the rain garden. I thought, what's wrong with you guys? Don't you understand where a rain garden is? So it's not getting enough water and it was hot and dry and we're showing early stress on that hibiscus. This is a black gum. And you can see, if you look at it from the right angle, that the tips are beginning to turn color. And that's as it should be. If they're the top branches, that's as it should be. And you're going to look to make sure it's set buds. Viburnums are beginning to turn, and it's early for them. They're also turning more orange and red than purple, where usually they're purple. Didn't have enough of the cool season chemical left in them to turn purple. Also heard about monarch problems, chrysalises. So on this butterfly weed, there's a chrysalis hanging. And we can be proud that we're fostering monarchs in our garden. There's the caterpillar and the chrysalis. But some of them are black. And now you're going to see dark colors on a monarch chrysalis as it's ready to emerge the next day.
But not like that.
The whole thing will go. This one has been infected with a fungus or has been parasitized by a wasp. The first time that I had one do like this, that we were bringing in for the kids to see, and I saw something other than a monarch emerge from it. It was a little wasp-like gnat. I decided then that I'm only going to collect and bring inside monarch eggs that have just been laid because they're least likely to have been parasitized because everything out there has something preying on it. So that's way too dark.
That's too dark. You should be able to see the wings.
That monarch has died, and in a little bit, something else will chew its way out of that chrysalis. It's the way it goes.
Life in the fast lane.
Right. Everybody likes tender things like developing chrysalises and tips. So I had commented last week to how the swamp milkweed is turning rusty looking and it's got aphids all over it. Those orange aphids that get onto milkweed plants generally when they're stressed. And yet that's the way that it goes. Why didn't I show the rest of the pictures? That's where the ladybugs are going to be. That's where
you can see one right there.
Yes, you can. There you go.
There might be one on this.
It's life in the fast lane. This is where these things are going to go.
Yeah.
Aphids like the tip growth. So do monarch caterpillars. So if I want to foster more monarchs, throughout the year, I want to cut the tips off in order to encourage more tip growth because that soft new stuff is what the little creatures like. Because they're little.
Yeah.
Steve's looking at his watch, so I think we must be out of time.
5 minutes.
Oh, good. 5 minutes is great. Because we got one more thing to talk about.
Suzanne, though, said, I did a pretty severe cut on my hydrangea this spring and have wonderful blooms. Cut it down by a third, but only the branches that had dried out buds.
Right. So you took out the stuff that had died back. Yep. Was it a blue or a pink, Suzanne? Because the panicle type hydrangeas will do that. You can cut them all the way down to the ground. But yeah,
no, it was not. It's the other. It's the mop heads. not Annabelle, but the
Right, it's a blue,
Nephilim.
pink, the big leaf one.
Yes. the
And
big
yeah,
leaf.
I did that on Cape Cod in order to keep them smaller. Every
Right.
I would cut out the oldest stems, which would take the height down, but leave the stems that were inside that still had buds on them. So good, you're doing it just right. Our other topic, our last topic that we came up with was talking about ewes. This was talking with a neighbor because I took those ewes. Can you see them there to the left? Those four dumpling shire ewes that were right in
Sorry.
front of the window of our bi-level house. So you looked out of the window
And saw this
at the
up there,
inside of a ewe.
you,
I felt sorry for them and I dragged them around to the back. I said, I could use you and put them in the back. Now, 5 years later, they are over 6 feet tall and spreading nicely and are going to be 20 feet tall.
they're going to be beautiful plants.
So far, the deer have not touched them.
Not touched a one.
They probably will at some point, but we don't care if the bottom deer height gets chewed. What
No,
we want is the block up here where
Yep.
there is no privacy anymore from those dying spruces.
plus sometimes the trunk bark
Oh,
of
they're
you is
beautiful. Yeah, it's a
beautiful,
beautiful red bark.
beautiful.
So they get very big. I wish I could show you a picture of a big one. Should go over to
Go.
the Christine's house on Middlebelt Road, Sylvia's house,
Yeah.
because she has fully grown ones that are just lovely to look at. Easily 25 feet wide and 20 feet tall. They're just gorgeous shrubs, but people all put them out and prune them all the time. When it gets taller, we'll start taking down the spruces, but we're not taking them down now. The birds and the squirrels are still using them.
Yep.
Poor things. They were planted poorly. They had their tops snapped off in a wind when they were 20 feet tall. They have cytospora canker. They don't belong there.
No.
I had to put him in.
Isn't that a cool?
I was talking to our friend Margaret when I was clearing off, when I cleared off the roots of that Coreopsis triteris, the three-leaf Coreopsis. This guy, this is our native June bug, was in the root system. Now, our native June bug takes 2 years to develop. This guy has been all of this summer and all of last summer developing in the ground. He's not going to come out until next June. And I felt bad because I'd put him into the bucket where I let the sprayed off, after I sprayed the soil off, I put the plant into a bucket and let it soak for a little bit. And when I picked it up out of the bucket, there was this guy sitting in the water. I thought I'd killed him. But when I picked him up, I could feel his feet moving. He was starting to revive. So I put him back in the hole I dug up because our native June bugs are not a problem. They're an oddity more than anything else. And it takes them 2 whole years to make it through. But I think it's cool. See about his eyes, Steve? I told you about his eyes. His
Yeah.
eyes aren't developed yet. He's
They're-
living underground. He doesn't need the eyes yet. So the eyes
No.
have not developed. Ooh.
Yeah.
Alan Lacey said that you can spend, I think it's fairly close to the quote that he wrote in one of his books. You can spend 1,000 years in one small corner of one garden and you still won't know what the heck is going on because there's so much happening out there.
Yeah. Marcia says her burning bush is bright red now. Also that my deer love my ewes but have left the rest of the garden alone.
That's good.
Suzanne first said ugh and then said the June bugs seem to have dropped off dramatically.
Well, the ones that emerge in May and June are native ones. Mate, lay eggs, and they're gone by a month later. It's real unusual to have them cause any problem at all. And for the deer eating the ewes, if you can just protect the ewes, which we'll do if it gets to that point, you can protect the ewes until they get tall enough that the deer can't reach all of them. Then you've got a hedge that screens the height that we're looking for anyway. You know whose pond that is, Stephen?
Yeah, Cotty and Mike's.
When you said nice pond, it sounded like you were asking whose it was.
No, there was
With
another.
Cotty's vegetable garden in the background.
I thought there was a different. No, it was the one from Ann Arbor client.
Michael,
No, with the dog.
Irene, and Jack.
But yeah, the balls was their pond. That was saying nice pond because I didn't recognize the dog.
Okay. Well, that's all that we had lined up to talk
And
about.
it's 8:01.
If there are questions left over, you can stay and chat them or talk them. Open your microphone. Or you can email or text them to us. Tell other people to do that too. It's fun to look for these kinds of things.
Whoops.
Fame. So we'll call it an end to this Free for All Friday.
Yeah, I just wanted to see if anybody added something to chat, and we both keep hitting
And
each other.
we're gone now for 3 weeks because next week we have George Papadallis talking to us about forgotten fall faces. We've let him freewheel whatever he thinks makes things look better in the fall, flowers, foliage, texture, whatever he's got going. And then the week and he wasn't available until later in September, and we really wanted George to talk about this. And so the 1st of October, first Saturday in October, which is our normal day to do a webinar, is the next week. And we have Jennifer Brennan. You probably haven't heard Jennifer Brennan before. She's really well known in Illinois and in Indiana. She's been, for her lifetime, designing container gardens out of Chalet Nursery, which is on the North Shore of Chicago. All the really wonderful gardens up there. And she's going to talk to us about containers for fall and winter. Not containers for this time, that were for summer, but for fall and winter interests. And she'll be there on October 4th, Saturday, October 4th. So we're not back until the 10th of October.
The 10th.
But when you send us a question, we do answer individually. We just answer in more depth quite often in a free-for-all webinar.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you all. Have a really good night. We'll see you
Thank you, Margie. We'll get some
in a while.
Yeah.